Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the new MacBook Pro that Apple has released in 2016. Now, of course, the number one new feature in this device is the touch bar area, which is pretty much a touch screen, and the buttons change on it depending on what program you're in. You could change your volume, mute the volume, access Siri, switch between videos and photos, do a million things with it. So it's really useful, but I just wish that there was an actual touchscreen on the MacBook. That's just my one wish that Apple hasn't done yet, but they're inching towards it. And there's also a Touch ID sensor, which is really good because you can use it to unlock the MacBook, and you could also use it for Apple Pay. But the really cool thing is when you put your finger on the fingerprint, if more than one person uses the MacBook, it knows what fingerprint belongs to who and instantly logs into your account and can instantly switch users. So it's really smart, and it's really efficient, so I really like the addition of the fingerprint sensor and the touch bar, as it just makes things simpler and quicker. I just wish that the main screen was a touch screen, like most Windows laptops have today. Also, if you notice, the Touch ID sensor is just a random square. It's not the circle sensor that you see on the iPhones and iPads, for example. And there's also really nice speakers on both sides of the MacBook keyboard. So I'm really impressed with the design. It's a lot thinner, and there's also a whole variety of colors. My favorite is the gray/black color, but there's also different colors such as gold and rose gold that you could get it in now. The only problem I have is it sacrifices on power for that design in terms of performance. Now, at least there is still good battery life. The battery, according to Apple, will last 10 hours, so you'll be able to get most of your tasks done in a day, probably all in a day, without any issues with battery life. As for the performance of the laptop, I did notice some actual lag, which worries me. It did lag a little bit when opening certain programs, and it would take a few seconds to load, but it's not really any big issue, because there weren't really any big crashes or anything. It just took a little longer to load things. But other than that, everything's good, and that was only a few times that happened, but for the most part, things just pop open and close immediately, and there really isn't any much issues with it, so I wouldn't worry about performance. It should be good for all your daily tasks, whether you're a professional or just a basic user. Apple says that the screen is much brighter on this MacBook, but I really didn't notice a difference. It looks the same as the previous MacBook Pros to me. I don't know, maybe other people will see it differently, but I just don't see any change in the screen, although they do say it's brighter. So the 2016 MacBook Pro does have some power upgrades and screen upgrades, but for the most part, the biggest upgrades are the new touch bar and the all-new design that's related to the thin so-called new MacBook that Apple released in 2015. Now that's it for this video, so thanks for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.